Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope you are well, and if not, remember Sudarshan Kriya from the Art of Living. Fantastic to improve our life energy. Today, I thought I will talk to you about the best professions to make money in Switzerland. Yeah, I think some of you may be interested in moving to Switzerland just out of curiosity. You know, Switzerland, it seems like it's like a mysterious country. So maybe today not so much, right? With YouTube and a lot of people sharing their experiences, but nevertheless, I think it still has a sort of mysticism. So today I'm gonna mystify some mysticism about the salaries. How much do people make in Switzerland? What are the best professions? You know, to make money here. So if you are into IT, it's not so much by professions, it's more by industry. So industries such as IT, even if you are not an engineer in IT company, but you work in HR, for instance, you make good money. So industries such as technology, then the banking industry, of course, it's not like it used to be before, like in the year 2010. Before, I would say 2014, the banking conditions were much better than today. People would make a lot of money on bonuses. And and today they still make very very good money, but the conditions have changed. To give you an example, I once had a colleague. He did the banking apprenticeship in one of the biggest bank here in Switzerland. This was in 2000, in the year 2000. Yeah, in the year 2000 he did the apprenticeship, and then he told me that just as a bonus, he was 20 years old. He was living with his parents. Imagine in the year 2000 and making 20,000 euros, dollars as a bonus. You are 20 and you're living with your parents and you are in your last year of apprenticeship. He was not yet a graduate. You're making 20,000 as a bonus. That's a lot of money. So those conditions, I don't know if for internships are still there. I don't think so. I think they changed a lot. But for people who are professionals, the bonus that they used to get before, directors, they are not there any longer. So yeah. So that's banking. Let us talk about the other industry where you make very good money is the pharmaceutical industry. I don't know if you know this, but Switzerland, it's a company that holds quite big pharmaceuticals industries such as Novartis, um, what else? Johnson and Johnson, and so there are big pharmaceutical industries because of the taxes. The taxes are low, and this is as well why Switzerland is a place where a lot of expatriates want to work, right? Because you can work with English, you can work in one of these international companies, and many of these international companies they send their employee from other countries here to Switzerland for for a year, for a couple of years. So it's a very very international place and a very rich place when it comes to working. Companies such as Google has the second biggest engineering office here in Switzerland after the one in uh, in in the States, in Seattle. And Microsoft is here. AWS, it's growing. The office was not that long ago, 5 years ago, but the last 5 years has grown much more. And it's a very, for this reason, it's very an attractive place, to work. So if you work in one of these companies, then you have as well, the consulting companies, McKinsey, um, Boston Consulting Group, BCG, these companies. If you work in one of these, regardless really of your position, of your role, excuse me, you make really good good money. And what is good money? Let's clarify here. So for instance, I used to know a girl. She worked. She was graduate. She worked at Google. She was graduate from what's Carnegie? No, not Carnegie. I think it's the number one school as IT technological school in the States. And no, it's not Harvard. There's another one, and I think it was Carnegie, or maybe it was another one, but the number one. And she told me that when she started working there, just fresh out of university, she was making 120,000 Swiss francs or dollars, euros per per year. That's a lot of money when you consider that other graduates, from less known companies, they make 80,000, after being graduate. And if you want to make 120 in a regular Swiss company, you have to be like 10 years of experience, 12 years of experience. So it's for you to see, the difference. And that was only the base salary, 120. And then on top of that, think about all the benefits that they get, such as the food, right, that is paid, the bonuses, the lawyers that they get for free in case they need some help, because they have a lot of expatriates, people moving, coming to Switzerland for work. So, so they are very, very well treated. They make very well treated. We don't know, but at least they make very good salaries, and that is something that a lot of people know, right? And Microsoft, companies such as Microsoft, they as well pay well, not so much as Google. Like that employee, for instance, instead of making 120,000 at Microsoft, will be like 110. Okay, between 100 110 more or less. Okay, so 10 grants, 15 grants less, but nevertheless, it's still a very, very, very good salary. So these are the salaries and for these big tech companies. And if you go to McKinsey, 120, not, but 120 is what you get like after your PhD. If you have a PhD at McKinsey, not just a master but a PhD in IT at a university here in Switzerland, ETH University, for instance, you will make like about 98,000, 95,000 euros, dollars. But if you go then to managing consulting companies such as McKinsey, then you make 120,000, or if you join Google, for instance, as well as a PhD. So as you can see, the salaries are quite high, are quite good, and you may say, well, yes, but the working hours are quite demanding as well. No, not really, not really. Don't think like that. I know a lot of people. Well, I've heard about a lot of people, for instance, at Google, PhDs. Google has the reputation of hiring a lot of PhDs, and they don't feel like they are doing a lot of meaningful work, and they feel somehow cheated based on the work that they are doing and then the salary that they the promises, like, okay, this is I'm PhD, and you are giving me to do this task, which I can complete maybe in 1 day, 2 days. You're giving me 2 months, and it's really a very, very basic task. That's their setup. At least they made it right to Google to make those huge salaries because of the PhD. But they feel cheated, and they will definitely want, like many of them, to do more meaningful work. But when you have expenses and you get used to a specific level lifestyle, it's not so easy. It's not so easy to change. Okay. What else? Yeah. In Switzerland, we don't have minimum salary, minimum wages. A Putzfrau, what is the name of a Putzfrau? Cleaning lady, for instance, she makes about 25 and $30 Swiss dollars per hour, and per monthly, more or less, she makes like 3,000, 3,500. After taxes, 3,000 clean That's a low salary for a clean lady and for a shop assistant as well, or for someone who works at a supermarket. Like they will make like about 3,300. So those are the salaries, more or less, here in Switzerland. If you are for those type of professions, then if you are a lawyer, you make a lot of money, and you know the lawyers like money. You make a lot of money. I mean, but it's not so much because you are a lawyer. Yes, the lawyer here is like between 350 450 francs per hour, dollars, euro. That's a lot of money. But as I say, it's not really because of being it's because of being a lawyer, but altogether in Switzerland, everything that it's service related, it costs a lot of money. You know, going to the hairdresser, if I go get a massage, like per hour, 180 francs, 150 francs, and that will be on the cheaper end. That's very very expensive. You know, a massage, yeah, you take care of your health, but really, how long do the effects last? You know, so it's a lot of money, you know, and in some places 220, it's a little bit chic, a little bit post 280 for a 60 minutes massage, like the dollar, for instance. So the dollar is a resort, one of the wellness spa best resorts in the world, and here in Europe is the number one, number two. So the prices are quite high, and that's why as well the salaries are quite high, and you know the cost of living is very 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 high. So if you want to come to work in Switzerland, if you ever wonder if even what the salaries are like here, and if in your country you are well paid, now you know. Now you can, now you can assess, but assess it fairly. You know, remember that the cost of living here, it's very very high, very very expensive. Thank you very much for joining, and see you in the next video. Bye.